It's seemingly driving college football, so it's only fair we talk about the winners and losers, the best and the worst of college football and the transfer portal. I'm Colin Kennedy. He's Brandon Marcello, rolling out a series of all of this on 247sports.com. Brandon, very simply, who's won the transfer portal so far?
Well, if you're Lane Kiffin, puff out your chest, say whatever you want. I know he doesn't like all these other schools with a lot more NIL money than Ole Miss, but Ole Miss is number one in the country by far. When you consider, we've got to provide some context with this. These are schools that were able to replace at least 50% of the transfers that left. Some schools only got 2 players on campus right now from the transfer portal, so it's very difficult to rate them. But Ole Miss by far number one, plus 5.86, an incredible haul led by Jackson Dart coming in at quarterback. Just a really solid upgrades at every spot for them, of course. And a team that you would think was going to have a huge drop-off this upcoming season because of everything they lost on offense, with Matt Corral leaving, of course, going to the NFL. But to me, Ole Miss, the big winner, plus 5.86, a team that could still be an 8-9 win team going into next season. And how about South Carolina at plus 5.16 to stay in the SEC? They rank number 2 when it comes to that right now, as far as replacing at least 50% of their players. Louisville at plus 3.34 is really something that surprised me. Very interesting to watch them moving forward because they upgraded at every spot, but they didn't really hit any home runs as far as big names. And in Miami, plus 2.82 as well. Mario Cristobal came in, didn't allow a lot of those players to leave, convinced them to stay, and then brought in upgrades. That's all you can ask for from a first-year coach at this point. And the state of Florida, get this, 3 of the top 6 in this category are schools in the state of Florida. Florida, as I just mentioned, number 5. Number 6 is Florida State at plus 2.39. And to me, Florida State getting plus 2.39, considering the sheer volume of players they lost and sheer volume of players they're bringing in, is tremendous. And to me, you're going to start seeing those results prove themselves out on the field. You can really start judging Mike Norvell, I think, this upcoming season because he's kind of got the roster he wants there via the transfer portal. Other teams I really want to keep an eye on here, Texas Tech, Joey McGuire came in there, kind of evened things out the roster, and got upgrades everywhere. And then look at LSU. I think their number is probably not really a great judge based off of where they're going to be at the end of the transfer portal. They're at minus 2.31. But there's some upgrades coming. They're going to have to make some upgrades, and maybe not necessarily in the transfer portal, but just for recruiting high school kids here over the next year or two.
All right, we've seen the impact that transfers can have and just how these squads might be boosted, but we've also seen what happens if you don't address needs on your roster. Who hasn't capitalized on the portal so far, Brandon, and who are we going to see that play out on the field next year?
Big teams at the bottom really struggled. And Nebraska is the big one that stands out to me because they were able to replace almost everybody that left, but they were almost downgrades just based off the film you'd watch, but of course also in the 24/7 sports ratings. Nebraska is at minus 0.45 right now. Not a good number. But then when you look at just sheer volume of numbers, you got to look at the players who left. Maryland had 22 players leave. That is by far tops in the country right now. Auburn, a lot of drama surrounding them as well. Auburn, 20 players have departed. They have not been able to fill those spots or even get close to it right now, and they're approaching negative range. They're barely hanging on above it at plus 0.07. So we'll see what happens there. Brian Harsin, a lot of work to do because their recruiting classes on paper have been the worst back-to-back for them since 2008 and 2009, and they're not getting much help in the transfer portal. So Auburn and Maryland, 2 programs in a lot of ways mirroring each other in the transfer portal. A lot of players left, but they're not getting a lot of interest coming in.
Well, check him out on Twitter at Brandon Marcello. He's going to keep rolling this thing out, this whole series. And, of course, check out 247sports.com for all things college football recruiting and, of course, the transfer portal.
All right. If you guys are good.